Hi, and welcome to the 10-Minute Book Talk. I'm author Rachel Linden, and I'm joined by bestselling authors Marie Bostwick and Katherine Reay. And today we could give you our book recommendations for the month. And we love doing this because we love to read. Almost all authors are avid readers as well. And so it's always fun to hear what everybody else is reading and loving this month. So, Katherine, what are you reading and loving this month?
All right, it's a little bit different. I can tell you all the books I'm reading this month, but one I'm thoroughly enjoying, and y'all know from maybe my Instagram that I thoroughly enjoy it all the time, is Run Fast, Eat Slow by elite runners Shalane Flanagan and Elise Kopecky. This cookbook is great if you have any dietary restrictions, meaning I don't eat grain, I definitely don't eat gluten, and I don't eat dairy. But it is easy and it's full of rich recipes and fresh recipes, and they just have delightful stories about running and all sorts of stuff in here. It is so worth it, and so many great things come from this cookbook. So that is what I'm reading. I'm digging through it for more new recipes this week, and I'm having a lot of fun.
So it's a cookbook.
It's a cookbook. It is a cookbook. And okay, I'm going to see if I can find my favorite recipe, and it's got a great picture. It's called the Southwest Salad.
And you were a runner too for a lot of years, right? Do you still run?
So here, they call it the Recovery Quinoa Salad. I call it the Southwest Salad. Isn't that gorgeous?
Ooh, that is gorgeous.
Gorgeous salad. And it's hearty enough to be a whole meal. It's fantastic. Anyway, yes, I've met Shalane. I've never met Elise, but she would not remember me, by the way. I remember her. So yeah, a lot of fun.
Ooh, that sounds delicious. I don't eat grains either. And so it's always good if you find a cookbook that you can actually eat things out of. Awesome.
Yeah, they definitely have some grains in here. Like that was a quinoa. Actually pretty much quinoa. They don't have any wheat-based recipes in here.
Okay. Oh, that's awesome. All right. That's a great and interesting recommendation. Okay, Marie, what are you reading?
Well, the world seems a little unsettling right now to me, and I'm experiencing a certain amount of anxiety surrounding that. So when that kind of things happens, I tend to turn to classic books that I love and that have brought me peace and comfort over and over again. And I have lost track of how many times I have read The Hiding Place, but I am reading it yet again. If you've not ever read this story, but gosh, so many people have, it was written by Corrie ten Boom, and she and her family lived in Holland during the, for hundreds of years, actually. So there's a whole history of her family. And she and her family end up hiding Jews during the war, and Corrie seems like the least likely person to ever become a ringleader of an underground ringleader doing this. And yet she steps up to the occasion. She is sort of miraculously supplied with the resources and the knowledge and the courage to go on in a time that requires courage. Eventually, she and her sister and members of her family are sent to prison and then to Ravensbrück. It is certainly a very serious story, but it is an uplifting story. And for me, the takeaway is always there is a plan, there is hope. And one of the things she says in this book that I just, as a person of faith, love is that there is no pit so deep that God is not deeper still. And so that's what I'm reading and loving right now. What about you?
It's timeless and also really timely for times we're living in. Okay, well, I'm reading too. First of all, tiny pitch. We're going to be interviewing her next month, but I just started The Wedding Veil by Kristy Woodson Harvey. I love her books. And this one is split time. It deals with the Biltmore and the Vanderbilt family and a wedding veil that's passed down through generations. And it also has a modern timeline, and it's just delightful. So I'm this much of the way through, and I can't wait to see what happens. So The Wedding Veil. And then we're about to go with our young kids on our first vacation in a while. And we're going to the Florida Keys. And so we're up in Washington State. So it's beautiful, but it's quite gray. And so we're so excited to have some warmth and some sun. So I'm talking about Beach Read by Emily Henry. I enjoy Emily Henry's books. It's rom-com, smart rom-com, and I love smart rom-coms. It's a little bit spicy. It's not like crazy spicy, but it does have some sizzle to it for readers who don't like sizzly books. Bear that in mind.
Like
two writers. One's a literary writer, one's a romance writer, and like a happy endings rom-com writer. And they end up in adjoining beach houses with writer's block. And so they make a dare to each try to write it, to kind of join each other's world. And it is just delightful. I found it so smart and thoroughly enjoyable. And the characters are just really well drawn. So beach read. I will not be taking this to the beach because I already read it, but it was like a good prep for.
Can I borrow it?
Yeah, that's it. You two live close to each other.
You guys, yeah, Marie and I live like 10 minutes away. So, but I'm sure they've got it at your library, Katherine.
I'm getting it.
Yes, you can borrow this book. Marie and I are also sharing this one back and forth.
Yes.
Finish that. So those are my recommendations for the month. All right. Well, I love the diversity that we had here. We've got a cookbook and a runner's book, and we've got this classic Corrie ten Boom true story, which is amazing. And then we've got a couple great novels to recommend this month as well. So one last question before we end. We know that our short and sweet 10 minutes are drawing to a close, but I'm just curious, Katherine, what's making you happy right now?
You know what? My family is out of town at the moment, which is not making me happy. But what is making me happy is I'm using that time to put the final gloss on my next manuscript, and it's coming together. And that's a really happy time when you're editing and it's flowing and it's just getting that little glow that makes it feel like a book. So I'm loving this moment. So there you go.
That's awesome. All right, Marie, what's making you happy right now?
Well, it sounds crazy. So I sew, and I've sewn I almost don't remember a time when I didn't know how to sew. I think I was like 6 years old, first time I sat, but I have been making draperies. I mean, not curtains. I have been making draperies, lined floor to ceiling draperies. I just finished a set for our new master bedroom for a window that is 12 feet across. So this is quite the undertaking.
And you can pull it and it shuts, it covers the whole window.
Pull it and it shuts, and they're really heavy. And I have to say, I am rather pleased with myself right now.
Yourself
have turned out to look professional, and I was super pleased with myself when and of course you can purchase inexpensive panel draperies for a nickel, but I have bought good fabric and good lining and used good materials. So these are really custom draperies, and I went and priced what similar custom draperies would have cost for me, and I have just saved myself thousands of dollars. So not only am I happy with me right now, my husband is super happy with me.
And that is also important. That's
also
good. All right. Well,
Rachel,
what is making me happy right now? Two things. One, I am knee deep in my next book that is due April 1st to my publisher and to my editor. And it's finally getting the juice. It's getting going, where I'm going through it and going, oh, this is actually a good story. I like this story. I like these people. I understand what they're going through, and I identify. So it's getting zippy, which is such a lovely feeling when you're like, okay, we're finally like getting there. And the other thing is, in 2 weeks, I go to pick up a puppy for our family. We gave our kids a puppy for Christmas, and I go to pick him up. And so that it feels almost like having a newborn again. We don't know anything about puppies. So I'm reading the manuals, just like first child, read the manuals, buy the materials, figure out you have way too many supplies, figure out you don't know what in the world you're doing. But that's making me happy to think about this little puppy. And I love names. And so I've been keeping a list of names since I was like 12. And so now I can pull out my list of names. And we told the kids, you don't name the puppy, we name the puppy. You can name it a middle name. So it's going to end up with something Star Wars. I'm sure there will be Star Wars. But I'm just excited that we get to usher this new little happy presence into our family life. So that's making me happy.
We should have an episode on the author's dogs. So I feel like
that's that idea. Right? Yeah, we have to wait after a couple of weeks when I have a dog, because right now I just have a beta fish that is not as interesting. So
a beta fish.
We'll do a dog episode. I love it.
We'll do a dog episode.
Well, our time is up. Thank you so much for joining us on the 10-minute book talk, and join in next week for more book talk fun.
Thank